I'm back, guys, and you remember in the previous video I talked about the 8 bills which our president actually assented to, right? Yeah, and we were all wondering how did these bills pass the parliament, right? Because before a president assents to a bill, it has to go through the members of parliament. I mean, the parliamentary needs to approve it, and then it's taken to the president's desk, right? Okay, yeah. So majority of Kenyans were wondering how these bills actually passed, and they kind of feel betrayed. So I'm going to unpack how, yeah, using four ways to unpack this. So as I continue, I want to ask you, who is your member of parliament? Because that member of parliament does not care about you. Yeah, take it to the bank. I don't really care. That member of parliament does not really care about you. The only thing they care is about the political party, the political influence, and how they're going to remain in power. That's it. Yes, and how they are going to benefit. Because tell me why. How did the privatization bill pass the parliament? I mean, how did they sell the oversight role to the executive? Because in the privatization bill, it actually states that it's going to remove actually the powers from the parliament. I mean, when it comes to selling of state-owned enterprises, those are assets, there will be no need for parliament approvals anymore. Yeah, so that means the parliamentary themselves, they actually accepted to sell the oversight role. I mean, the role that we actually trusted them with, to actually act like watchdogs, question, ask for clarity, ask for transparency and accountability before even those assets are being sold. Now they've decided to sell it to the executive. I mean, how did this kind of a bill pass, right? Yeah. So, one, I want us to understand this. When it comes to these parliamentarians, it's like loyalty to their political parties outweighs their loyalty to, I'll say, public interest. Yeah. Because in Kenya, actually, the parliamentary is heavily influenced by two factors. Yes, two factors, and I want you to be keen on this. The first is actually on party politics, and the second is executive control. Yes, two: party politics and executive control. And and that's why when it comes to voting, these MPs will actually vote according to their party or coalition lines, and it has nothing to do with the substance of the bill. No matter how that bill is good or bad, it doesn't really matter to them. What matters is their loyalty to that particular party or to the executive who are controlling them. And that's why you see, when a bill comes directly from the executive, it tends to pass because the majority in that room, most of the time, are on the executive side. So they will tend to use the powers to actually push for the bill to pass. Yeah? And that's why when this regime was coming into place, they actually ensured that they actually have majority in the parliament. Yeah, because bills are passed in the parliament, and when they're passing the bills, I said it's not about substance of the bill. They're passing it, it's about how many numbers do they have to vote for that particular bill. They knew that when they are coming up with bills, they will need numbers to actually ensure that that bill passes the parliament. So, my people, it is about the loyalty to their parties, our party leaders, and nothing to do with loyalty to public interest. And that's why you will hear them say that actually the majority carried the day, or the government side carried the day. Yeah, it's no longer about substance of the bill. Number two, I want to talk about this. Public participation is very weak in Kenya. Yeah. And interestingly, according to the law, every bill in Kenya is actually supposed to undergo public participation. Do you know that? Yes, every bill in Kenya is supposed to undergo public participation. But the sad bit is that public participation in Kenya is like a tick a box exercise. Yes, I take it to the bank or leave it. A public participation in Kenya is like a tick tick box exercise. And why do I say this? It's because most of the time when they give us notices on the public participation forums, they either do it silently so that most Kenyans don't even know that public participation is actually taking place at a certain place. You get to hear about this when it's too late, or maybe days to public participation, and you also have your own errands or planned schedules that you cannot even be able to attend the public participation forums. Yeah. And the few that you tend to attend, you just realize that you are wasting your time and your opinions were never even implemented or incorporated. We've had those cases, right? Yeah. So they will tend to have these consultation forums, maybe in Nairobi. They gather some gatherings in Nairobi and do some consultation, take photos and videos for transparency and accountability, and tell people that we actually did consultations. And when they feel like the pressure from their citizens is so high, they tend to give us like a link or an email where you can actually be able to do what? To send your opinions, right? Yeah. So when, let me take you back to the Finance Bill 2024. They gave us an email, and most of us, like citizens and civil society organizations, we send our opinions, right? And what happened? Those opinions were never catered for. They were never actually incorporated. Why? Because if they were incorporated, there's no way the members of parliament could have passed that bill. Them passing that bill, that means that whatever we aired, our opinions were never incorporated. Is it because they receive an overwhelming number of opinions or what? But don't they have committees? Don't those committees use our taxpayers' money to sit in those committees? Yeah, they need to evaluate and select meaningful ones. Do you want to tell me all of us submitted like opinions that are not meaningful? No. They do it intentionally. Yeah, they do it intentionally. And that's why after doing all this, they will tend to say, oh, the parliament will tend to say we did public participation. Technically, it looks like, yes, they did public participation, but meaningfully, no, it wasn't. So that's it. Number 3, guys, these members of parliament fear oversights. Yeah, I mean, guys, they fear something we call political risk. Remember when I talked about whistleblower protection and that they were undergoing something we call retaliation, right? These members of parliament, because they're politicians, they actually fear political risks, that they might actually lose their political influence, their positions in those committees, or maybe they will fear that the money that is supposed to come to their counties or their regions, like the community development funds, it will either be delayed or reduced. So they fear. Yeah, and they would rather dance to the tunes of their masters. Yeah, and we've had cases where when you try to oppose the regime, what is done? They retaliate, and sometimes you hear Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission of Kenya going after these kind of politicians. And that's why most citizens actually tend to wonder if EACC is actually independent. Because why would they come after these politicians once they disagree in their parties or with the regime? Why can't they start following up these politicians way before this happens? Yeah, so that's the thing that is making actually most Kenyans wonder if EACC is actually acting independently. But anyway, they're actually doing their role. Yeah, in holding these politicians accountable. But anyway, these politicians fear that political risk, and that is why they will tend not to actually disagree. And that's why majority of them, when it comes to voting, they will either stay at home, or during the voting day, they will come and abstain. Only a few who are courageous will say no. Look back to the Anti-Finance Bill 2024. How many voted no? Majority of them voted what? Yes. Some abstained and some stayed at home, because they were not courageous enough to face it. Yeah? The last thing I wanted to talk about is incentives. You remember during the Anti-Finance Bill 2024, these members of parliament came to the public and started telling us how they were paid. How much was it again? Was it 100,000 or something like that? I can't really remember very well. But some of them were openly telling us that they were paid to actually vote yes. Think about that, guy. So that means they only care about themselves, right? But something else again, when it comes to incentives, it's like these members of parliament know that they're going to benefit from this kind of bills. Take, for instance, the land bills, right? When they're taking the power back to the Ministry of Land, they actually understand that they know that it will be easy for them to actually acquire land anywhere easily. And that's why they actually had to have that bill approved. Secondly, on the privatization bill, they actually probably knew they would benefit from this bill. I mean, some of them probably are eyeing some of these assets and they want to buy maybe the shares or something. And they understand if it has to pass through the parliament, then there will be questions and concerns from either the public or other members of parliament, right? And when it comes to conflict of interest, but they understand when they remove these powers from the parliament, no one will question them, right? I mean, they'll be able to purchase these assets. I mean, those who are politically connected to these committees or the executive, they'll be able to purchase. And the sad bit is that they might purchase at lower prices, right? Yeah, I don't have problems with them purchasing, but they might purchase at lower prices, and these things will actually benefit a few. Go and check Nigeria and Zambia, what has happened when it came to privatization of assets. Yeah, so just go and check what really happened. It's not really good, and if that's the path where we are going to go by, then I fear for us as Kenyans. So guys, that is it from my end. Bye.